name's Dr. Tim Teel. I am the Doc of Unlock, and with me a very, very special guest, a friend of mine, Ashley Stanley. Ashley is she was my medical assistant for what, about a year or so, and we worked together as a team using this emotional freedom technique tapping tool, and Ashley really laid into it, and we really had some interesting experiences using that tool. And I'm not going to steal Ashley's thunder here, but no, but we have some fascinating stories to tell about the experiences that we had in the office, and what we're doing with this tool now. So, Ashley, I'm just going to let you kind of introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about who you are, and where you're at today and what you're doing here at Doc of Unlock.
All right. Well, first off, I'd like to say hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Stanley. I am the EFT tapping specialist here at Doc of Unlock. And what I do is help people unlock the life, that they would love to live. I show people in a clinical setting how to actually use this technique to calm down. Would notice patients would come in terrified of the procedures that they were getting ready to undergo, and I would have to go into the room to help calm them down, where they would be able to do this procedure comfortably. And so I would go in and tell them to rate the situation, and they would be irate, maybe a 10. And then when we go through the process, they would be at a 3. And that amazed me. It amazed me so much that I started doing it myself because I wanted to lead by example. So I wanted to know what I was doing with the patient when I was doing it. So I started trying it with myself and with my children at home. And boy, did I see a transformation in myself and children as well.
That's great. Now, so Ashley, I want to stop. I want to back up and give folks just a little bit of perspective about where we came from with all this. Folks may not know I'm a retired ear, nose, and throat physician, and the last year or so of my practice, Ashley came and joined us, and I'm going to let her give some of the background about how that happened. Well, essentially, no, the vast majority of the time in our office, no, it's a pretty boring place. However, no, many patients would come to us with a cough that wouldn't go away, feeling like they had something stuck in their throat all the time, scared to death that they had a cancer. And no, we have this little tool that's called a nasopharyngoscope, and it's essentially a short endoscope that is a lighted camera that we would put in their nose and pass it down into their throat and just take a look around. When you've got a patient in your practice that is scared to death, they've got a cancer stuck in their throat, and then you announce that, oh, we're just going to take a camera and just jam it through your nose and stick it down your throat and just have a look around. And the vast majority of these patients, their response was anywhere between think what can you just knock me out for that? And so what we started to do, the two of us together, I would numb up their throats with some medication, and that always takes a little bit of time to work. And then once I had taught this technique to Ashley, Ashley would come in and tap with these patients, and it was fascinating. Not only, did she make tremendous progress in getting these patients to settle down and have a relatively enjoyable experience. I mean, nobody really likes having a camera sticking on their throat,
Right.
but no, but it wasn't nearly as unpleasant as their emotions might have dictated to them to begin with. But what was fascinating is what happened after the procedure and on their way out. So why don't you tell everybody what your experience was as these people would pass out of the office?
Almost every patient that would walk out of that office, they would look to find me, no matter where I was at, whether I was at my desk or if I was in the restroom, they would not leave unless they got to hug me, hug me, tell me just thank you and how much grateful they were for us and what we did for them that actual day. So to me, that meant the world. That meant that it was more, that I helped them release more than just a fear. It it was something that they had been battling for quite some time that they were able to release. So that was amazing to me.
Right. And, I don't know when the last time you went to your doctor's office and hugged the MA on your way out the door, but over and over and over. I mean, to the point where it was ridiculous. This is exactly the experience that, that Ashley had, that I had, during the time that I was still seeing patients. And I realized in the process of doing this, in the practice of seeing what we were seeing, there's something big going on here. Something really powerful, much more powerful than the needles, the knives, and the pills that that I was taught to use in Western medicine. And the transformations that we saw were unbelievable using this tool. And it was just it became such commonplace that it almost got a little bit boring. But no, but it wasn't boring for our patients at all. I don't know if you've got a story that that pops into your head, right off the bat, but I'm going to tell one of mine, and you can tell one of yours if you want. But no, we had one fellow that he had come to see me because of a hearing loss problem, and I looked in his ears, I looked up his nose, and I pulled out a popsicle stick to look down his throat. And the second that I pulled that thing out and held it up, this guy freaked smooth out. I mean, he started gagging and screaming and hollering. His face immediately turned red. He starts sweating. He stands up. He's got his hands in the air. I mean, I didn't know whether the guy was going to attack me or he was going to pass out. It was, I mean, the response was almost beyond belief. And, it was vividly obvious that he'd been majorly traumatized somewhere along the line. I immediately just threw the stick away and I said, okay, well, listen, we're not going to do that. It's okay. Do my best to try and calm down or help him to calm down. And we kind of got to the point where we could walk him out to the hall, went down to the audiology booth and put him in the audiology booth. And while he was in the audiology booth, I asked his wife, I kind of leaned over and said, What's up with that gagging thing, man?" And she said, "Doc, well, he was abused when he was a kid and he's aware of it. He's been in cognitive behavioral therapy for like 40 years and he has tried and tried and tried to get over this thing and just can't seem to get beyond it. He's never been to the dentist. He can't stand to have anything in his mouth. And it has, the whole gagging thing had extended beyond, just having something in his mouth to, being a generalized stress response. And he was actually in a road rage incident and started gagging, had to pull off to the side of the road. This man gagged for almost 30 minutes, which is just completely debilitating with this childhood trauma that that he was dealing with. And we did the hearing test. I asked him. I said, you know, it, talk to me about that gagging thing. And he said, well, doc, he said, I was abused when I was a kid. I know it. I'm aware of it. I've been in cognitive behavioral therapy for like 40 years. I'm trying to get beyond it. He said, I just haven't made any progress at all. And I said, would you work with me on that? And he said, sure. So I said, just bang your hands together like this and say, despite my gagging, I'm okay. And he said, despite my gagging, I'm okay. I said, bang on top of your head like this and say, despite my gagging, I'm okay. And he did it. And he stopped and he said, he kind of giggled a little bit. He said, what in the world are we doing? And I said, keep laughing there, Hoss. I think you're winning. And so we went through all the tapping points and we did it twice. And I said, take a great big old deep breath for me. And I said, nah, take a big one. Take it as big as you can. Okay. And we just kind of sat there and looked at one another and kind of let some of that emotional energy dissipate a little bit. And I said, "How you doing?" He said, "I'm fine." And I opened a drawer and I pulled out a stick and I held it up and I said, "How you doing now?" And this guy just looks at me. He said, um, I'm okay." And I scooped my little chair over there and I said, "Open your mouth." And I put that tongue blade on his tongue and I said, "How you doing now, Hoss?" And he said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Okay." And I pushed way down hard on the back of his tongue. It's one of the ways that we actually suppress someone's gag reflex. And I said, And I did it hard enough that the stick started to crack, and I did it on purpose. And I said, "How are you doing now, Hoss?" He said, "Uh, I'll tell you that." Literally, his wife, she was sitting as close to me as you are, and she fell forward out of her chair. She had to catch herself, and she said, "What in the world did you just do?" And I said, "I didn't do anything." I said, "This is a tool that I applied, and he did the work." And he just decided using this tool that it was time to be done with it. And I said, I, I've had some crazy experiences in my life. That was the craziest one. And we called the guy a year later and asked him, how he was doing. He said, "Still doing fine." I said, "How's the gagging?" He said, "Still gone." You got to be kidding me. 40 years worth of trauma in 2 minutes. And he said, "Yep." He said, "That's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life." And I said, "Well, me too." And it was crazy enough that no, that when we introduced this tool to this young lady, and she would use it over and over and over and over again. And the things that I saw when these patients got out of that room, they would wait for her to come out of the toilet, for crying out loud, and hug her and say thank you with tears in their eyes. And express more freaking gratitude to this chick than the doc that told them they're going to be okay. Folks, I, I, I can't adequately express how what a game changing event it was to learn about this tool, and I've told my most powerful stories, some of the most powerful stories. I'm going to let Ashley tell yours. You got a story you want to tell?
I remember there was this lady that came in. I don't quite remember her name, or she I think she came in. She was having something that was going on with her throat, and it was more of an emotional thing with me and the patients. I was able to appeal to them emotionally and get them to open up. So she started talking about some of her traumas that she was going through when we were tapping. We started tapping on an issue. And when we were tapping on that issue, she was able to talk about it. And she went from like a 10 to a 3. And this was very personal. So I don't want to go into what me and that patient talked about. But I know that I was able to bless her because she actually sent a card back to the office thanking us for what what we had done for her, and explained to us. I don't know if you remember it or not,
Mhm.
but she explained to us what she had been going through and how she had overcame that, and she was able to break free from what had held her for so long. And that right there was amazing to me.
Right.
It touched me.
Well, no, I really genuinely believe that that the power in this tool and in this technique is addressing people exactly as they are. We are not bodies with souls. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it is when we have the opportunity to address that spirit exactly as they are, energetically. I mean, emotions are energy in motion, and to be perfectly honest with you, I'm about 99% convinced that that our emotions is really nothing more than our spirit simply moving around from place to place, experiencing the world, saying, "I wonder what it's like when I go over here. I wonder what it's like when we go over there." But the EFT technique really allows anybody who uses it to put some space between them and whatever emotional program they've got running inside of themselves. And the part about the technique that I find so really enlightening is that I'm genuinely convinced that there is an unconscious. In fact, I'm not convinced of it. I know there's an unconscious emotional program that runs in every single one of us, and it is a survival mechanism. But just because you're surviving doesn't mean that you're living the life that you really want to live. And everything that we experience before the age of 7 years old goes into a survivability file. And so everything that you've experienced, everything that I experienced before the age of 7 years old, our body remembers it as survivable. not pleasant, not fun, not the life of my dreams, but only as survivable. And so, if you experience abuse before the age of 7 years old, your body, at an emotional level, remembers that that you can survive that abuse, and even if you don't like it, it's survivable. And we see this played out over and over and over in people's lives. My particular patient learned that the gagging thing was a survivability issue, and even though he had experienced horrendous emotional pain with the gagging experience, he understood at an emotional level that gagging was a survival tactic. And whenever he got frightened or upset, he would gag, and sure enough, he'd survive it. Okay, now it wasn't what he wanted, but the tapping technique gave him the opportunity to just create enough space, almost like hitting the pause button on the part of our brain that processes emotion, and says, no, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And it just causes enough of a break in there that that people can decide for themselves consciously for just a moment whether or not that's what they want to continue to be able to do. And when you experience this sort of a breakthrough, there is a tremendous, tremendous emotional release. There's a relaxation that happens way down deep inside, not at a no, not at a superficial level, but at a very, very deep level. And no, and you experienced this before or shortly after you got to my office. Why don't you talk a little bit about your experience once you discovered this technique and we showed it to you, and share your experience here, because that's what's really valuable.
It's kind of hard to explain because it started on me in a whole lot of areas. Like I was going through a lot of things when I came to that office. I had just started to touch the basis on meditation and how to go within and um, how to reprogram my thoughts. I was doing a lot of spiritual work on myself when I was led to that office. So, I had a lot of childhood trauma. I had a lot of um, issues that I was dealing with within myself, and I was trapped. I didn't know what to do to get out of them, but it was working with the patients and working with you that showed me how to work on myself. It showed me how to hold up a standard for myself to be able to take a moment to react different than what was stored in my DNA, to just naturally react that way just because it was stored there. So I was able to use this technique to help myself, and it transformed my life. I mean, I struggled with anger and frustration, and that was a bad one for me because with me, you can't get one without the other. You can't be angry and not frustrated. So I was dealing with two bad boogers. And when I learned how to just deal with those emotions, welcome those emotions, not fight against them,
Right,
welcome them,
right,
and just give myself time to react different. That was a game changer.
right. No, and that's you just touched on something so critically important that no, that most people from a who are running their emotional program automatically don't understand is that oftentimes, in fact, it's not oftentimes, it's every time, whatever it is that's in the way is the way.
That's right.
And the very things that we struggle with the most are not the things that we need to run away from, but that we need to run toward. And we need to recognize those things in our life, God forbid, even embrace them.
Mhm.
And this tool allows people the opportunity to release enough of that unwanted emotional thing, the thing that frightens us the most, whatever. It allows us to create enough space between us and that thing that we can start to move toward it and start asking the question, what is it that you have to teach me? Okay. What is it that that you can help me to do to live the life that I really want, to help me unlock a life I love?
I used to give my power away.
We all do.
alone
We all do, dear.
from being angry and frustrated, and my blood pressure was through the roof. When I started working with Dr. Teel, my blood pressure would run 200 and something over 134. I used to be dizzy all the time. And of course, he would get on me about the things that I would eat. Well, change this and change that. But what it was the way that I was processing my emotions. Now, since I have learned how to use the tapping technique, my blood pressure is normal. I don't even have to take blood pressure pills no more. And I think that is pretty amazing.
It's beyond amazing, but gasp, gasp. You mean to tell me that the pills, the needles, knives, and pills got outshone by this silly little
It
EFT tech?
sure did.
Ah,
It
ah,
sure did.
ah,
It is that
ah.
amazing.
It is that amazing, and
It's that
no, and
amazing.
the point is that no, the most powerful parts of who we are is not in this flesh and in this blood. It is not. It is the no, the spirit that no, the energy that no, that is us. Not no, not to be weird about it, but you are a spiritual, emotional being, and no, and when we no, learn to no, to embrace that and no, and give ourselves enough space to operate and see that that the things that that bother us the most are not the things that we should run away from, but actually reward.
Mm.
Okay. And this no this technique actually gives us the the opportunity to release enough of it that it no it becomes a little less daunting of a task. So, no, so talk to me about the role that you play here, because first of all, I have to tell you a very, very personal story about Ashley. This is not the same girl that came to work for me in 2022. Is that right? When it
That's
was?
right.
Yeah, 2022. She was pretty angry and fairly timid and very very nervous and upset about a lot of things. In fact, that's simply how she learned to get through life, was to be nervous and upset and angry and so forth. And no, I will tell you that no, that I knew very early on in our relationship that she wasn't there to be my MA. Yeah, it was an entirely different purpose that no, that there was that no, that this girl was in my office, and it became vividly obvious very fast that no, that she was there to grow and to learn and to change. And no, to her credit, she has grown and changed in ways that no, that you can't even imagine. No, there was no chance that no, that 2 years ago this girl would have been able to sit here elbow to elbow with a physician and have a conversation where she felt comfortable breaking in and teaching something about how to have a breakthrough and how to live a life different and more pleasant, easier, and God help us, maybe even a little more healthy than you than you did before by learning. Honestly, if for nothing else, this technique is a wonderful relaxation technique. If you don't do anything else, if you just need to relax and sleep, or if you just need to unwind a little bit, or you've got blood pressure problems that nobody can get a hold of, and those people are out there all over the place. Perhaps, just perhaps, you're an emotional being that no, and your body's trying to tell you something. And
Right.
no, and maybe there's a chance that this tool can help us do that. So, how can people get access to you?
Well, y'all, you guys can come check us out on www.unlock. I am there every week. I upload content for you guys every week to try to reach out. There's always going to be something for someone. I try to change the topics up. Um, so there can always be something for someone. I believe that, in the world that we're living in, it's a lot of broken people. It's a lot of people that actually need this tool. And so I'm kind of creative when I come up with the topics, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there in hopes that there will be something that will be able to bless you that you can move forward with and help you live the life that you would love to live.
Yeah, that's right. And no, our EFT program, there is no cost to it at all. It's 100% free program. You can tap with Ashley. She'll teach you how. There's a couple of free lectures in there, and then Ashley will come back and do a tapping session every week. No, but it doesn't end there, does it?
It does.
We've got a lot more going on. Ashley and I have actually collaborated to develop what's called the personal assault recovery protocol, and we use not only tapping, but about four or five other techniques to help people put some distance or simply release the emotional trauma of whatever personal assault that they have witnessed or been a part of or suffered from. And we've all been traumatized in one way, shape, or form. Every single one of us. That's part of the human experience. The question is it getting in the way? And if it's truly getting in the way, and you have not made any progress with counseling, or you simply don't want to go to counseling, or worse yet, you're self medicating
Mhm.
and just trying to survive and get numb through this stage in your life. You don't have to. Suffering is actually optional now, and we are so excited to introduce to people the personal assault recovery protocol, which Ashley tells her story, the whole story. Show that no, show them that arm. Ashley tells the story of how she got this, and maybe just give us a little preview of that, because it's a fascinating story, and it's all part of the number of traumas that you've had in your life, which is not insignificant, by the way. And that's the whole point of the program, is that the traumas that we experience, they don't have to define us. Okay, no, so I'm going to let Ashley kind of tell a little bit of her story.
Well, it's getting August of '07, I was shot with an 1847 assault rifle, and it was a pretty trying time for me. Um, I was lost at that point. My husband actually did it, and I was lost. Just put it that way. I didn't know which way to turn, but um, it's all of these tools that I'm trying to share with you guys that have quickened me and set my feet on solid ground and have led me in the right direction where I can go and where I can come back and help others that have been through the same thing that I've gone through, and maybe something similar. So I want to take everything that I have been through and apply it to this program to be able to help someone else that's maybe struggling to find their way through. So,
Now, 16-year journey, I might
yeah,
add, and
yeah.
really,
16 years.
I Ashley and I have worked together to try and help tell her story, and it is a story worth listening to, especially if you're struggling with anything, any form of trauma in your life, and you don't necessarily want to go to a counselor. No, this is a do-it-yourself program that you can do at home in the privacy of your own home. You can do it in your closet if you want to. It doesn't make any difference. But no, but what we're trying to do is to let as many people as we possibly can get in front of, to let you know that emotional suffering is now optional. Okay, we don't have to suffer with some form of trauma that you may have experienced in your life, whether it was child abuse, or
Right.
a rape, or a robbery, or being shot, or whatever it happens to be. If you're stuck, you want to listen to this girl's story, okay, about how to get unstuck and get your life moving again. And instead of running away from the things that leave such a tremendous emotional mark on you, learn how to walk toward them. If it's in the way, it is the way, my friends, and we'll teach you how to do that. Ashley will teach you how to do that.
I just want to say this. I believe that everything that I have endured and everything that I have went through was to be able to help somebody else. And I have been through a lot of things. Not only have I been shot, I have been child molested, I have been abandoned, I have been abandoned in more than one way, and amongst other things. And I'm willing to be transparent and open and share that with you guys. So in hopes that I can help you overcome whatever obstacle it is that you're going through. So I will see you on the other side.
Exactly. I'm so proud of you. I really, Ashley, I just can't tell you how excited I am to be working with you going forward, and so proud of your journey. I'll let you know too. We had a dare going a few weeks ago, getting into a speaking contest, and she dared me, and I dared her, and I said, "Okay, well, let's go and see what happens." Both of us advanced on a national stage. Both of us advanced from the beginning level to the advanced level. And old Baldy here got a stinking golden ticket to Las Vegas next year and compete on in person on a national stage. So it's not to blow our own horn, not that we're ashamed to do that, because there's a lot of lessons that both of us have to share with the world. We intend to change the world, at least our part of it, as much as we possibly can. But the point is, this is how powerful these stories are. She has a powerful story. I have a powerful story, and you need to be able to listen to it and just take home this message. Suffering is optional. No, I just want to keep talking to you, but I told everybody we kind of keep these short, so we're going to cut this thing off at 30 minutes or so. But you don't have to just shut things off. You can come to Ashley's program. It's called the EFT program at Doc of Unlock, www.docofunlock.com. And if you'll find your way to our services, there's a tab down there where you can get into our EFT program. There's no cost. There's no obligation. You just give us a name and an email address, and sit through the lectures on how to release some of this emotion as rapidly as the stories that both of us have been telling you here today. And then if you want to crank it up a notch, Ashley has her story to tell, and it is totally worth listening to. If you don't do anything else, listen to her story. It is fantastic, worth listening to. So, and we'll put a link in the chat here, or a link on the video. For you to sign up to listen to her talk. So my name's Dr. Tim Teel. This is Ashley Stanley. Ashley is our tapping specialist here at Doc of Unlock. So happy to have you here. Tickled to death just to have the opportunity to tell our stories and help you unlock the life you love.